Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, some homeowners are tricking package thieves by putting dog poop in delivery boxes.
Tony Kornheiser, these people are ruining my side hustle. They're ruining it.
Hey, wait a minute. Is this a real story?
I assume so.
Well, you know what? Good. Good. People want to steal stuff.
Porch pirates.
Get your
Isn't that what
hands
they're
dirty.
called? Oh, dirty in a very literal sense once they open the bag,
there
right?
you go.
Yeah, that's what they're called, porch pirates. That's a good name, I have to say. That's like right up there with Brotherly Shove, which is a good name. It's a good name. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. We will get to Florida beating Houston for the men's national title in a moment. But we begin today with the Denver Nuggets firing head coach Michael Malone and deciding not to renew the deal of GM Calvin Booth just 3 games shy of the postseason. The Nuggets have lost 4 straight, but all were without injured star Jamal Murray. The team is 15 games over 500. It's in 4th in the West, and Malone led it to the title just 2 seasons ago. So, Wilbon, does this move make sense to you?
Hell no. This makes no sense to me. Michael Malone and that team, while they have not been exactly what they want to be this year, we're not in the playoffs yet. They can still finish with home court advantage for a first-round playoff series. They still have the guy that I think, while I'm not voting for MVP, I think he's the best player in the world, and that's Nikola Jokic. Tony, it only makes sense if Jokic has somehow gone to ownership and said, Malone and I aren't getting along. And that doesn't seem to be his MO. Maybe that will trickle out in the next couple of days, and we'll go, aha. But, Tony, short of that, and it's not like Jokic is playing with a bunch of first-team All-NBA or second-team or third-team or even All-Stars, because he's not. So they're not underachieving. I don't have them winning this year, but they won a year and a half ago. No, does it make sense to you?
Well, you know a lot more about the league than I do, and you know a lot more about the team than I do. But if I understand this, they're firing a guy who just 2 years ago won an NBA title. They're replacing him with a guy who has never been a head coach in the pros or in college, and they're doing it with 3 games left. And you say to yourself, wait, this isn't hockey? This isn't Lou Lamoriello. Do you really think that this is going to help the squad? And I would say I don't help the squad. But I don't think it was going to help the squad. I have nothing really intelligent to say about it other than it seems like a desperate move. So you take a step back.
Either desperate or petty.
Right, you take a step back. And 2 things occur to you on a step back. One is Michael Malone this poisonous? Does he radiate toxicity and you had to get rid of him now? And the second thing is what you said. Does Jokic go to management and say, I don't want this? The way Antetokounmpo went to management in Milwaukee. The way LeBron has gone. Yeah, and they say, no, I don't. So, because if that's the case, that's different. But I would ask you, you have your ear to the ground on the league. Had you heard anything?
No, I know there's sort of been a power struggle, and there have been the talk of that. And Calvin Booth, who we got to know a little bit here in Washington when he was here, and seemed to do a good job. No, they don't have the kind of talent that overwhelmingly says, oh, the coach has to be doing better.
Right.
They don't have that. But there have been hints of some sort of power struggle. But that's far cry from get out with 3 games to go.
How can you?
And there's no clear favorite other than OKC in the West.
How do you prepare for the playoffs under this sort of turmoil? To me, the only thing I would take away is this. I would not bet on Denver. Now, I would stay away from Denver.
You have to.
I don't think you're going to get, maybe you will, maybe in the first 2 or 3 games they're going to be great, but I think long-term this has to be destructive.
No, this is not like with Michigan some years ago before the tournament.
Right.
Replay, this is not that.
With Bill Frieder and Steve Fisher.
You got to go into this. It's a grind. It's a haul. It's a whole additional season. And you're going to go in this with a guy who hasn't been a head coach.
Yeah. All right, we move now to last night's nail-biting ending of the national championship game as Florida beat Houston 65-63. Florida led this game for just 64 seconds, but they were the right 64 seconds. Wilbon, your reflections on who won and how it ended?
Tony, immediately and now, you look at those final 2 possessions for Houston, they don't get a shot up, and you go, that's a failing. And Kelvin Sampson talked about that specifically, how it's going to keep him up. And I was rooting for Kelvin Sampson because I know him, and I don't know the Florida coach or Florida people. And I was rooting for Kelvin Sampson because I thought what he's done consistently every year, not just this year, put them in position to win, to come back against Duke. And people get carried away, though. Part of my reflections have to do with reactions and overreactions. And even some of the great analysts. And they act like these games are choreographed, and they're not. They're sports. and they're kids, and they make mistakes. And sometimes the defense smothers you and confuses you and bewilders you, and you don't set the screen or the back screen, or you don't re-screen, or you don't do some of the things that all these adult 60-year-old people are saying these kids must do under the pressure of the moment. Houston didn't get it done. I know they feel bad about that. I feel bad for them. But Florida has, time and time again, they performed under that pressure, and they won. So kudos to the Gators.
Yeah. So I believe that Houston gagged in the way that Duke gagged.
Very similar.
I believe Kelvin Sampson failed in the way that John Shire failed. A little bit more surprising because Kelvin Sampson is older and his team is more experienced. Duke could not inbound the ball. Houston could not get a good shot. Both teams squandered their possessions late.
Oh, yeah.
Both teams could have won, and I would tell you probably should have won those games.
Yeah.
But I talked to you yesterday. I believe I got this right. I told you I was picking Florida because Florida throughout this tournament had been down by large margins and had come back to win. For example, 10 points to Texas Tech late, 9 points to Auburn late, 12 points last night to Houston late, and each time Florida won, they don't gag. Okay, a team last night, they played a team last night, a great defensive team, a team with tremendous experience, and a team that has lived all year in close games and won them, and they beat them.
But you know what?
So I would congratulate them.
No doubt. I looked at last night's game, though, and, first of all, Walter Clayton, they held him down.
But when they needed
Houston
him in the
did a
second
great job.
half,
He made 3 baskets that mattered.
Yeah.
He did.
Late.
But I'm saying, okay, but
when they win,
we think Walter Clayton's going to be a real pro, and for that team to hold him down for 35 minutes
they're a great
is a credit.
Team.
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
And so I'm not, you know what? I'm not going to get into blaming Houston too much. As you know, I told you, I'm not going to blame Duke too much. Should they have won? I agree with you.
Yeah,
I think that each of those teams should have won. But you know what? Houston doesn't have a great player. When they cut in the camera cut to Akeem, that's a great player who used to wear a Houston uniform.
Here's an interesting little statistic. Houston has been in the Final Four 7 times.
Yeah.
They've never won. It's the most amount of being in the Final Four without a victory. And they did not win with Akeem. But every team that beats them in the Final Four wins the national championship, whether it's the semis or the finals. Yeah, whether it is.
I feel for them just a little bit. I do. Let's go to the Lakers, big boy time. They play tonight, again in Oklahoma City. Then tomorrow night in Dallas. Luka's first game back there since the trade. The Lakers have put out a voluminous injury report for tonight. Rui Hachimura is out. Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Gabe Vincent were all questionable, but an hour ago were upgraded to probable. The Lakers have 4 games left, Tony, and could finish anywhere from 2nd to 8th, which is a play-in spot. So given this precarious circumstance, should the Lakers have everyone on hand in these next 2 games with a playoff spot somewhere at stake?
So our local team, at least my local team, because you root for the Bulls, my local team is the Wizards. And when they're on TV, I drop in for 4 or 5 minutes every once in a while because they're trying to lose.
Right.
Utah is trying to lose.
Yes.
Philadelphia is trying to lose. So I'm attuned to teams that are trying to lose. I believe that the Lakers would be content to lose this game if they could win tomorrow night in Dallas. I believe that this is strategic to a degree. I believe that the Lakers know that their best chance to win is in Dallas against Dallas because, and I believe this, Oklahoma City is going to beat the Lakers because of what happened a couple of nights ago. I don't care who the Lakers play. The Lakers are not going to win that one. Right. So if you can give your better players some rest and make a back-to-back, not a back-to-back, not an onerous back-to-back, I personally would do that. Now, there's risk involved, Mike, because Dallas could be way up for this game tomorrow night. I mean, Dallas could say this is a way to salvage a small parcel of this season and this awful trade that we made. Might be the first time, if they win, that the general manager doesn't get booed in his own home stadium. So I believe, Mike, that actually the Lakers would be better off playing anybody else anywhere else. Because this one's going to be on Luka.
I'd like to disagree with you on this, but I don't. I was even thinking about it. So Sunday, I'm sitting there watching some of the Laker-Oklahoma City game in disbelief.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking at halftime, when it's a 24-point Laker lead, I thought, okay, how are they going to handle the next game? Because I don't believe they're going to sweep Oklahoma City in Oklahoma City.
No, they're not.
And Oklahoma City has nothing to play for but pride, and they're young, and they probably hate the Lakers, and they don't want to have this at home, and they and their coach don't want to go into the playoffs like this, where it looks like they're tanking or troubled. And so I'm with you, Tony, and it's a tough call. Like, how do you make this call? Do you wait and see how the Lakers are performing at halftime tonight? If you're J.J. Redick and you say, you know what? No. I'm going to rest some people because we can't have a back-to-back for real in Dallas.
I back off because it's easier to beat Dallas than it is Oklahoma City. Yeah. Given what happened 3 or 4 days ago, that's a different deal. Let's take a break. Coming up,
down the stretch.
The Masters is 2 days away. Is Rory McIlroy right to approach his white whale like any other tournament? We're going to ask Scott Van Pelt.
We're also going to ask him about Scottie Scheffler's bid to win his 3rd Masters in 4 years.
Which is the easier game to win? It's the Dallas game, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if there had been nothing 3 days ago, I would say
and they would
take a shot at both.
They needed this game.
Yes. But they don't.
They not as much.
Pardon the interruption.
The PTI investigative team has discovered that the Masters tees off on Thursday, which makes it a perfect time to bring in our great friend, fellow member of the Bald Brotherhood.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Scott Van Pelt. Scotty, let's start with this. The Masters is the only major that Rory McIlroy has not won. He said this morning he wants to treat it like any other tournament. Pardon my skepticism, but is that even possible for him?
Heavens no. How could you possibly treat the one tournament that you've not won to complete the career slam as if it were pick a venue, like another tour stop? It simply isn't. That said, I and other folks that cover the tour more closely on a week-to-week basis really like his chances. I've said, in fact, I picked him. I think that there's a time. I think every man has a time, and I think it's his time, and it's a combination of his headspace in life, how he's playing, and just the belief that he's too talented to not eventually win here. And it would come down, Tony, to playing well the first day. He's largely put himself out of position. You need to stay at least within arm's length of the leaders, I think, because otherwise you're playing catch-up. And we've seen him have these great weekend finishes where he makes the top 10. He didn't care about that. He wants to win. I don't believe you can make it like a normal event. I don't think he's probably prepared like it's a normal event. I think he tells us that because then we'll leave him alone.
Yeah, that makes sense. It
all
does.
the sense in the world.
It does. A guy who doesn't have any of these concerns is Scottie Scheffler because he's won 2 of the last 3 times in Augusta. And, Scott, I don't know if you believe in horses for courses, but if you do, what makes, what is it about Augusta National that really suits Scottie Scheffler?
I think any course he plays on suits him because he has this amazing ability to drive it incredibly well, hit it close with his irons, which is critical here, understand where to hit it, and then maybe more importantly, where not to. If he hits it out of position here, his ability to get up and down, if you remember some of the remarkable shots that he's hit here to change the momentum of rounds where he's making birdies from off the green, his ability to do that, and then his incredible ability, Michael, to treat every round here as if it is just a round at home with his friends. He's unbothered and unimpressed by a good round, and he's unbothered by a poor round. And that's rare. That's a rare gift, and I mean gift. And I think Scheffler has that on top of his golfing gifts. So all that together allows this week not to become some monstrosity. And when you've already won it twice, you know you get to come back here for the rest of your life. So you're not burdened in the way that Rory is.
Scott, a guy that I've started to root increasingly for in recent years is Xander Schauffele, who won, of course, the PGA and the Open last year, finished no worse than tied for 3rd in the other 2. But it seems he's like flying under the radar now. Is there a reason, or where is his game now?
I think, Michael, largely it's just his absence from the tour. He injured his rib, and so he's only played 4 times. And I was involved with the TGL this year where he was playing with the New York team, then didn't play, obviously, because he was injured. Came back to play some there. He just hasn't played a ton of tournament golf. Having said that, he's played a bunch of great golf here. 4 top 10s in the last 6, I believe I have that right. Bookkeeping could be off, but I know that it's a bunch of really, really good results here. And I value that frankly, more than I do if he had been playing well in the past month and a half on the PGA Tour. Coming here knowing you know how to play this place, he does. And also, since he was here last, fellas, he's done the thing he hadn't done, which is not just win a major. Now he's won 2 majors. And, oh, by the way, you win this one and you're 1 away from the Slam. I think Xander will win here eventually. Again, I already picked Rory, so I can't pick 2 guys, but I would expect him to play well.
How's his health and the rib, just to follow up going into this?
Has been unbothered since he's come back. Hasn't been an issue, but he did the hardest thing I think for athletes to do. He gave himself enough time to let it get better. And you guys play the game. I mean, imagine every swing hurts your rib. You need to give yourself the time to get right, and he did that.
By the way, just for the record on this show, because Wilbon does it all the time, you can pick more than one person. You can pick as many as
No,
6 or
you
7.
don't.
Wilbon does it all the
What are
time.
you
We will get you out of here on this. The live golfers have not gotten all that much attention lately. Do any of them stand out to you heading into Augusta?
All of them. Honestly, all of them. I believe DeChambeau will play well. I believe Rahm will play well. He won here a couple of years ago. And this becomes a longer conversation that I know we don't have time for, just about how people consume live or don't. I just don't know people that casually consume it. And I'm not making a value judgment against that tour. I just don't hear people talking about it. That said, there's a bunch of excellent players out there. I expect Koepka to play well just because every major he seems to. Hell, Phil a couple of years ago finished 2nd. So do I think any of them play well, Tony? I believe all of them will, because there are so many of those guys. Neiman, I didn't even mention his name. He could win here and it wouldn't be a shock at all. So I expect a lot of the familiar names to be in the mix from Thursday on. And in the end, I just think it's Rory's time.
Thank you, Scotty.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, boys.
ESPN's live coverage from Augusta begins at noon Eastern tomorrow. Let's take one last break, but still to come, Quinton Byfield scores an improbable goal.
And we already have some big portal activity in women's college hoops.
Are we jealous of Scott?
Yeah, I was going to
because he's in
say,
Augusta?
we are so jealous.
We are jealous.
It's been 5 years since we've been there?
Yeah.
5 years.
It's been a while. It's been a while for us. We're jealous of Scott.
April of 9.
Happy time, people. Happy 28th birthday, Roquan Smith. The Ravens linebacker came into the NFL with the Bears, who drafted him 8th overall out of Georgia in 2018. Smith was twice second-team All-Pro in Chicago, but publicly asked for a trade before the 2022 season began. Smith played 8 games for the Bears that season before general manager Ryan Poles traded him to the Ravens. Smith finished out the season in Baltimore well enough to make first-team All-Pro. Then in 2023 and 2024, Smith was first-team All-Pro twice more. Smith led the Ravens in combined tackles the last 2 seasons, as he led the Bears in that category every year he played there. Wilbon, this feels like a disastrous trade for Chicago.
My brother Don won't let this deal go and goes crazy over it, but here's the problem. Poles got Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. He got 2 guys to do what Roquan did and does, and it's worked for that defense. And now they lost all those games that wasn't there for. Those 2 guys, I'll take those 2 guys.
Happy anniversary, Cleveland baseball. The first part of this is posthumous, but on this day 50 years ago, Frank Robinson debuted as Cleveland's player-manager, making Robinson the first African-American manager in Major League history. To help his own cause, the future first-ballot Hall of Famer hit a home run in his first at-bat to lead Cleveland to a 5-3 opening day win over the Yankees. And on this day 32 years ago, Cleveland's switch-hitting Carlos Baerga became the first major leaguer to hit a home run from both sides of the plate in the same inning during a 15-5 beatdown of the Yankees as well. Baerga was a 3-time All-Star in Cleveland.
I'll go back to Frank Robinson. There have been bigger, stronger guys than
Greatest
Frank Robinson.
of all time.
But when you walked into a room, how many people have more presence than Frank Robinson in baseball? We're on the same page
All
on
time.
that.
One of the all-time.
Absolutely.
Happy trails to a save by Kraken goalie Joey Decord. Quinton Byfield of the Kings beat Decord less than 2 minutes into last night's game, and it's a goal that's best appreciated in slow motion.
Yes, it is.
While struggling for position in front of the net, Byfield knocked a soft backhander out of midair with just his right hand on the stick. Then turned and swept the puck into the net, again with just one hand. Later in the game, Kings goalie Darcy Kemper made a spectacular save. But despite both of these highlights, the Kings lost the game 2-1.
Well, the goal, that reminds you the strength and the presence and the dexterity of like Gordie Howe and Phil Esposito and Bobby Hull and Alex Ovechkin, young Alex,
Gotta be strong.
in front of them. You couldn't hold him.
Yeah. No,
They're
you're
gonna
right
get
about
you.
that. Let's go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
Donovan Mitchell's out against the Bulls tonight after rolling his left ankle. Is that cause for concern?
If you're Cleveland, you're 6-6 in the last 12. You could get the Bulls in the first round too. I know it seems like a walkover. I don't know. The Reds snapped the Giants' 7-game winning streak. Your thoughts?
My first thought is that once you get into first place in that division, you lose. You know, that it's going to go around and around with the Padres and the Dodgers.
Fun to watch.
Giants. Olivia Miles is leaving Notre Dame for TCU, and South Carolina landed Tanaya Latson from FSU. Bigger deal.
Miles replaces Haley Van Lith. Latson led the country with 25 points per game. They're both huge deals.
So you pushed. You pushed.
I'm pushing.
Okay, just to make sure.
The Jets snapped the Blues' 12-game winning streak. I had that.
You did. But I had Florida. I had Florida over Houston for the reasons that I've explained earlier in the
Yes,
show.
you did.
Which is the bigger deal?
Well,
Florida.
Winnipeg.
Florida. Stop. Last one. The Sixers lost their 12th in a row last night. Defend this tank job.
You know, there's a kid named Cooper Flagg at the end of the rainbow.
Yes.
And I now think, having watched the tournament, even though he missed the last shot, I think he's worth tanking for. I do.
We're out of time. We will try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
He looked good in that deeper red, though, in the Midwest. I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knucklehead.
You got him at the Bulls?
You can get the PTI podcast on the app or Apple Podcast. You know what's coming.
You have Cooper Flagg for the Bulls?
If the Bulls don't win the play-in, they go into the lottery. And then, I'm just saying, we got Derrick Rose like that.
On this development in tonight's PTI bonus topic.
All right, Wilbon, what is your biggest takeaway from the firing of Michael Malone?
It's my reaction. And you know what my reaction was when I heard this afternoon? What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about with 3 games left in the regular season that they're going to fire Michael Malone, who 2 seasons ago led his team to an NBA championship and has still the best player in the world on his roster? And they don't seem to be at odds. I know there's been talk for much of this season, particularly since Christmas, about, a power struggle between coach and GM. I get that. Calvin Booth, the GM.
Well, they got rid of both of them.
They got rid of both.
Yeah.
So if there's a power struggle, why don't you side with one? It seems like a petty ownership move. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. But Joker, nothing in Joker's history suggests that he's, the puppet master in this. It just doesn't, so I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And you know more about the league than I do, and you know more about the team than I do. I look at it and I think to myself, oh, okay, there's 3 games left. You're going to go into the playoffs with a new coach who has never been a head coach in the NBA or in college. Is that the smartest thing that anybody has ever done? Doesn't seem that smart to me. I know Lou Lamoriello has gotten away with this in hockey once, but this is not an NBA staple, it seems to me. So you take a step back and 2 questions come out. One is Michael Malone so poisonous that they had to get rid of him? You have to ask that.
Right.
And the second one is, does Jokic have a play in this?
That's
in the way that Antetokounmpo did in Milwaukee, in the way that LeBron has done over the years.
Yeah.
Over the years. Because other than that, it makes no particular sense, and it pushes you away, for example, from betting on Denver for anything now.
But would you want to play Denver in a crazy Western Conference where anybody could beat or lose to anybody? Would you take your chances with Denver now, even though they've got the Joker?
If you say to me that this was internally based, that it was a players' revolt, that they went to the owner, the players, not just one, said, you've got to do this, and nobody else had ever heard of it. If you tell me that, then maybe they have a better chance. But the odds of that are so small.
Seem very small.
Huh?
Intrigue in the Rockies. That's it. We're done. Back to you.